G'day and welcome back to the channel. Work on the Torana hatch is still continuing, and in this video, it's a big one. I go through all the required jobs that I need to do in a methodical approach. Starting off with the rear wheel tubs. I'm going to be removing the sound deadener, getting it all nice and clean so I can put some epoxy on it. Also, I'll be prepping the door shells. I'm going to be setting them off to get blasted and coated in epoxy just to give me a clean slate. And I'm also going to test fit the brand new skins that I've received for this car, because I will be reskinning both doors with new skins. Also, I'll be cleaning up the neglected side of underneath the car, which is from the diff back. Originally, I had painted and cleaned from the diff forward on this car. I didn't do the back half because it was all oily and crappy, and I had to remove the diff to be able to get to it. But now I've got no choice. I'm also going to clean up the custom boot floor underneath and put that in epoxy as well, just to keep the flash rusting at bay and seal it all up. Underneath, because having a hoist is both a blessing and a curse. The blessing is you can see everything, the curse is you can see everything. Underneath there's a couple of bits of chassis rust that I have to contend with, so I'll be repairing them. And finally, the hatch compartment false floor tray. I'll be reinstalling that, doing a few little mods here and there and repairs. And towards the end of this video will be a little bit of bumper bar mount rejigging, especially the crush tubes where they weld to the end of the chassis rail. They're not in line, and I want to try and get them as best as possible so when the bumper bar is installed, it's nice and straight. So I hope you enjoy it, and hopefully we'll see you at the end of the video. Alright, spending the time to clean up under here of all the old stone guard. I want to get it all nice and clean and spray it with some epoxy and then put stone guard over the top of that. Also been rolling the lip a bit better. Before it was only rolled probably halfway here, just the top part, but we'll go a little bit wider just for more clearance. Redoing this section of the inner tub just to match the other side. It didn't quite flow with the chassis rail before, sort of, you know, as you can see, where this way it's sort of flows and it goes straight with the chassis rail. So doing that now. Okay, grinded back, now to weld it up. Just doing a spring perch mod where the spring perch sort of tapers outwards. I've cut a slice and I'm hammering it so it's a bit more straight up and down. You can find this information on a GMH Torana forum. It's a great source of information, all things Torana. As you can see, so before it was sort of out like this, and now it's a little bit straighter for some extra room. So now I'm just going to follow the line of the piece underneath, and then I can weld it all the way through. Now I've got under the driver's side guard all cleaned up of all the old stone guard, straightened this as well. Now I'm going to do the same mod to this spring perch like I did on the other side. So yep, slice it through, hammer it flat where it overlaps, cut the wedge out, and then weld it and grind her up. Just pulling the skin off this door. This one's actually not too bad condition where they usually rust. Not so much pitting there. That corner looks pretty good. A little bit of pitting here. Little hole that I have to weld up there. The thing is with these doors, especially the inner frames, I just wiped them down, coated them with rust converter. The Ranix rust buster type, let it dry and then epoxied straight over, so it's probably wasn't really ideal. I mean, most of the epoxy's chipping away and there's just a lot of rusty brown crap all in the seams, and that's the last place you actually want the moisture to form, because that's the first place that starts to rust. So anyway, I'll continue stripping out. I'll do some small repairs before it gets sandblasted. I'm taking both the door frames and the hatch false floor to get sandblasted and coated, and then when I get it back, I can do the work on it then. Now there's a bar for the weather strip that welds to this part and the other side, as you can see. So what I'm going to do is fill in that hole, because I hole sawed it out to be able to get the door skin off, and I'm going to fill it up first. Put it underneath there, scribe it. I'll go cut it out and weld it in, and do the same on the other side. This is the bar I'm talking about. It spot welds to the door skin, and the weather belt gets clipped into there. As you can see, it's welded to the door frame on each side. So I am still yet to remove this from the other old skin, but I'll get there. Oh, that's cut out. Time to weld it in. And for the other side, I'll just do this new little piece here. That repair is done. This repair is done. Just have a small repair to do here. All right, just doing some test fitting first while I'm here. got my new skin on the frame and just to have a look at it. So how this was made, this lip here was about 10 mil and it stopped about here. So I couldn't actually, well, I'm guessing that's just the process of manufacture. Can't expect it to be 100%. I measured this on my other Torana and it's about 70 mil from the end to here. And so I just clearanced it out. It's all sitting down on there, making sure that the top edge is straight. Before, this was lower than the inside on one corner, especially this door. This door was actually worse on this side. And I think it also had something to do with the little piece that went around here. So I've cut it all off. That's going to be installed last. But pretty good. That's 30 mil. 30 mil. 30 mil, so that gap is consistent. Hard to really get a proper measurement, but there's a 30 mil there. So with any luck, and I might actually test this, I'll put the window sills in, and hopefully I've got a nice gap of just over 5 mil. Then I won't have that great big gap where the rubbers weren't even touching the. That is much better, a much better fit. Really happy with that now. That's actually going to seal the glass. Testing the other skin from the other door. What I did was I put the two door frames together, and I noticed that this part here was actually where the flange is, was actually closer to this corner than the other side. So that's about 15 mil from there to there on the other one, and this one was smaller, it was like 5 mil. So what was happening was the flange was in a bit more, which in turn this was sitting closer to this, and the gap, because I'm chasing 30 mil, the gap was more like 25 mil, which meant the weather strips were actually touching, didn't have a nice 4 to 5 mil gap in between them. So to fix that, all I did was slice it, moved it up a bit and welded it, and now 30 mil. $30 mil. $30 mil. Gonna clean that and remove the skins, put the doors aside because I will be sending them to get sandblasted inside and outside. Remove all the old paint, all the new paint, all the primer, everything, and get a fresh coat of epoxy on them so then I can start putting them back together. And I've been busy. Whilst my door shells and the false floor inside the boot compartment have been at the media blaster, I have been concentrating on underneath this half of the car. Mainly, I wanted to get my new boot floor sealed up in epoxy primer because I was getting quite annoyed with dealing with flash rusting. While I was there, I had to remove the diff because this diff is absolutely dirty and crusty. It needs a good clean, but all of this grime and built up oil was up in this side of the floor. And in a previous time, I did coat the floor pan, the underside of the car in chassis black, but I stopped at about here, and this was still all original. It was full of surface rust. It was grimy and gross. So that was a lot of elbow grease. Check out this. It welded. Kind of a funny repair there. I mean, it works, but I've got to fix that. So yeah, a lot of surface rust. It was quite a lot of applications of phosphoric acid, cleaning, again cleaning, sanding, more cleaning, more sanding, more phosphoric acid, more washing, more surface rust, more flash rust, and then finally I coated it yesterday. So that's all sealed up. I'm happy with that. These end parts of the chassis rails, they're not 100% fixed up yet. I still need to test fit the bumper before I drill the holes that go all the way through the inner beaver panel there. So that's why that looks like that. Same on this side. The spring perch with the little mod that I did. Even in here, I had to clean up. I also fully rolled the guard lips. They were only sort of half rolled and, started up about here. So even lower, it was still going to catch the sidewall of the tyre. So I made sure I rolled it as much as I can all the way around. Previous repair here, it cracked from about here onwards because there wasn't enough penetration on the original weld. So fixed that while I was there. I sprayed this wheel well, mainly because I had plenty of primer left over in the gun. So once I coated underneath the car, I noticed that, I had heaps left, so I did a real quick scuff, middle condition, and that way I didn't waste material and didn't waste the afternoon. This side's had the same treatment, all cleaned up in here of all the old stone guard. Just needs a scuff and a prime. Of course, before any coating, when I get to that stage, all the seams are going to be seam sealed just to give it the best chance in the future. I do have a pinhole there I need to repair, and a couple of pinholes there. No doubt the other side would have a couple too. The beauty about having a hoist, you can actually see the underneath better. Bit of rust there. Bit of a chassis repair I need to do there. And chassis repair I need to do there. So the most important thing is all my new steel is sealed up and I can continue working. These frame sections of the chassis are all repaired and cleaned out. There was a lot of gunk in there. It was, yeah, crazy. I wonder where it came from. Maybe it gets flung up into here. But that's all done. Now this is my garden sprayer with obviously weed killer in there, but I'm going to drain that. So because I don't really have one of those flooding tools, I got a bit of hose, blocked the end off, poked a few holes, and I'm going to fill that up with rust converter and flood the inside of those sections of the chassis rails. But before I do that, I'm actually going to flood it with water, because the rust converter actually calls for wetting it down first, and that way it'll get rid of any residual dust. It should be nice and coated in there. I let that converter dry, 24 hours or so, and then I'll flood the inside with some cavity wax, and that should keep any rust at bay. All my patches are done. Same on the other side. Yeah, having a hoist is both blessing and a curse. When I first did this car, I didn't even know that there was rust in here. But all sorted now. Plug welded. Just welding up that side of the tray. Just need to scrape the paint off from in here and spot weld it there. And she's on. Then concentrate on this bit. I'm currently playing with the bumper bar brackets and where they mount onto the rear of the chassis rail. I haven't drilled the holes out on the boot floor, which allows the bumper bar bolts to go through and into here. These are the little cross tubes. So what I'm doing is I've cut these off the chassis rails because they do need a little bit of repair, and I'm going to tack them to this piece so they're inside the holes properly. Because the worst thing is when these don't line up, you can't actually get one of the you can't get the bolts into the bracket. So I'm going to tack these on, then mount the whole unit up to the chassis rail. Here's one I prepared earlier. I'm going to line it up so it's even on both sides, then tack the cross tubes to the chassis rail there, and then I can cut it off, weld in the brackets so they mount like factory, and then it all should line up. All right, all measured up. I've drilled straight through these holes just to mark the chassis rail, so then I can drill it out to the right size and then make sure these little cross tubes are around the hole, and then I'll weld it back onto the chassis rail, and it should be good. And the original one is pretty close to where they need to be, but this is quite messy, and so I've got to clean it all up and make it nice. This one where I need to drill out. This was a replacement bit of chassis rail from a sedan. Just got to fix all this up here. Has been fish plated when I did do this, so that's nice and strong. This needs some attention. Little crappy welds there, so easy job. All located and drilled through. I've test fitted the rear bumper, and there's no cross threading, so that's all good. Just going to clean it up. Bit of deoxidine, make it all nice and clean, and then I'll coat it with some epoxy. I've got a fix over here, shitty weld from back in the day, there as well, and that job's off the list. So thank you very much for checking out this video. Work on the Torana is still continuing, and I'll be recording most of every step of the way. If you do like this sort of content and you want to see more, check out my other videos, or like and subscribe if you want to continue to follow on this build. Other than that, we'll see you at the next one. Cheers. See you.